What happens when a remorseless alien warlord is provoked by a trembling, disposable waitress? Everyone expected a brutal execution. Instead, an ancient frequency awakens. Watch as a single breathless apology violently shatters 40 years of absolute cruelty, unlocking a terrifying hidden bloodline they never knew they shared. What if I told you that the blood flowing through your veins is merely a biological preamble? What if the family you were born into was nothing more than an earthly illusion, a temporary assignment, while your true, eternal bloodline is scattered across the freezing, unforgiving cosmos, desperately waiting for you to wake up and find them? Imagine the paralyzing shock of realizing that the life you have built is a carefully constructed cage, and your authentic soul is starving in the dark, yearning for a home you have never consciously known. At Bible Tales US 17 warmly welcomes you to this sanctuary of truth. We are chroniclers of the hidden remnant, seeking out those rare, luminous souls brave enough to shatter their institutional programming. If this message resonates with the quietest, most guarded spaces of your heart, please subscribe to our channel. Your subscription and support give us the profound motivation to continue uncovering and sharing these powerful, transformative stories with you in the future. Now, anchor your mind and drift with me to Palon Station. It is a spinning monolith of titanium and neon, a colossal, godless sanctuary suspended in the freezing abyss of the Outer Rim. Here, millions of forgotten souls vibrate at the absolute lowest frequency of survival, drifting through artificial gravity without a tether or a purpose. But today, I do not sing of the desperate masses, nor do I sing of stellar conquests or the collapse of dying suns. I sing of an ancient, buried activation code. I sing of a remembrance. Look with me into the Gilded Nebula, the most opulent, sickeningly lavish restaurant perched on the station's uppermost promenade. It is a cathedral of excess and blinding arrogance. Chandeliers forged from captured dying starlight hang above tables draped in synthesized spider silk. The air is thick, suffocating with the scent of roasted Orion truffles and the hollow, echoing laughter of diplomats, oligarchs, and cartel barons. They are wrapped securely in velvet and self-importance, vibrating in a manufactured frequency of superiority, entirely blind to the void outside their reinforced windows. But do not look at them. Draw your eyes away from the glittering illusion and look into the suffocating shadows of the far corner. There sits a nightmare made flesh, Drathic Sarowan. He is a terrifying, walking contradiction to this velvet world. Drathic is a supreme commander of the merciless Kthroni Empire. His body is a towering monument to planetary devastation, rigid and imposing, standing well over 7 feet tall even while seated. He is encased in pitch-black obsidian armor, a heavy shell deeply scarred by plasma burns and the acidic blood of countless conquered species. Beneath that dark metal, his skin is covered in thick, impenetrable scales. His massive fingers end in retractable, hypercarbon claws, capable of tearing through starship bulkheads like wet paper. But it is his eyes that freeze the blood of anyone who dares look. Twin orbs of burning, ancient amber, devoid of a single shred of mercy. For 40 years, Drathic has been a perfect, unfeeling machine of war. The Kthroni doctrine hammered into his skull since birth is terrifyingly simple. Weakness is a sin, compassion is a deadly disease, and solitary dominance is the only acceptable state of existence. He has lived a life of absolute, crushing isolation. He eats in silence. He sleeps in sterile barracks devoid of a single personal memory. He follows institutional mandates with brutal, mechanical efficiency, while his internal world remains a barren, frozen wasteland. The very concept of a home, of a gentle touch, was violently scrubbed from his mind in the Kthroni breeding camps. He sits alone at his table, staring blankly at a massive cut of prime synthetic meat, a solitary, lethal apex predator trapped in a room full of soft, frightened prey. He is profoundly, devastatingly alone in the universe. And the truest tragedy is that he does not even possess the emotional vocabulary to realize he is bleeding out from the inside. Yet, even in a soul completely encased in the icy armor of imperial conditioning, the universe knows exactly where to strike to let the light in. I want you to watch as the suffocating atmosphere of the Gilded Nebula is suddenly pierced by the most unassuming presence imaginable. A young station-born server, fragile and exhausted, navigates the labyrinth of hostile, wealthy patrons. Her name is Ilara, though her name matters far less than the frequency she unwittingly carries. She is carrying a tray of synthesized crystalline wine, her hands trembling from the sheer exhaustion of enduring a life that treats her as entirely disposable. She approaches Drathic's table, the epicenter of terror in the room, and in her overwhelming fatigue, she falters. The tray tilts. A single, delicate crystal glass falls and shatters against the obsidian plating of Drathic's massive boot. The entire restaurant goes completely, terrifyingly silent. The diplomats and cartel barons hold their breath, anticipating the immediate, brutal execution of this insignificant girl. Drathic's massive hypercarbon claws twitch. His Kthroni programming dictates a swift, lethal correction for this display of weakness and disrespect. But as he slowly lowers his massive, scarred head to look at her, something impossible happens. Ilara does not cower. She looks up into those burning, amber eyes, and I tell you, she does not see a monster. She does not see the scars or the Kthroni butcher. Through the grime of her station-born existence and the absolute terror of the moment, her soul reaches out and recognizes the starving, buried spirit trapped beneath his heavy armor. She whispers a simple, breathless apology, but the tonal frequency of her voice carries an ancient, undeniably familiar echo. It is a sonic resonance that bypasses his heavily modified auditory receptors and strikes directly at the core of his being. I have witnessed stars collapse and galaxies collide, but I have never seen a spectacle as profoundly moving as the micro-expressions of pure confusion and vulnerability washing over a hardened warlord's face. In that fraction of a second, the biological preamble of their physical bodies completely dissolves, and two desperate members of the hidden remnant finally find each other in the dark. That fleeting collision of gazes was not merely an accident of station gravity, but the violent turning of a cosmic key in a long, rusted lock. I need you to understand the sheer, agonizing weight of what Drathic is experiencing in this frozen moment. For 40 years, his mind has been a meticulously maintained fortress of cruelty. But Ilara's voice acts as an invasive, divine harmonic that shatters those massive walls in an instant. The Kthroni neural implants buried deep at the base of his skull begin to spark and burn, desperately trying to flood his system with synthetic rage and adrenaline, demanding that he strike her down. But the ancient activation code has already been written into his spiritual DNA. He closes his amber eyes, and for the very first time in 4 decades, he does not see the bloody, ash-choked battlefields of his conquests. Instead, he sees a blinding, ethereal light. He feels the phantom sensation of a warm sun on unscaled skin, the echo of a forgotten song vibrating through a body that was never built for war. He feels the overwhelming, crushing weight of unconditional love. It is a biological and spiritual rebellion of catastrophic proportions. The sheer agony of feeling, truly feeling, after a lifetime of induced numbness is enough to drive a lesser mind into absolute madness. I watch as a single defiant tremor racks his massive armored frame. He is drowning in the realization that everything he has ever fought for, every life he has violently taken, was in service to a colossal lie. The empire that birthed him is the true enemy, and the fragile girl kneeling in the spilled wine before him is his authentic bloodline. The pain of this awakening is exquisite and terrifying. He reaches out with a massive clawed hand, and the wealthy patrons around them gasp, waiting for the blood to flow. But the claws retract with a heavy metallic click. He does not strike. He gently, almost reverently, places his massive hand on Ilara's trembling shoulder. It is the very first act of grace he has ever committed, and in that simple gesture, an entire empire's conditioning is burned to ash. The frequency of remembrance hums powerfully between them, loud enough to drown out the sterile noise of Palon Station, binding them in a truth that entirely transcends the physical universe. To awaken after a lifetime of induced sensory death is not a peaceful transition. It is a brutal, tectonic rupture of the self. The silence in the Gilded Nebula is abruptly shattered by a harsh, grating laugh from a nearby table. A local cartel overseer, heavily armed and emboldened by his own manufactured arrogance, stands up, visibly disgusted by the Supreme Commander's uncharacteristic hesitation. He draws a plasma pistol, aiming it carelessly at Ilara, mocking Drathic for his sudden weakness and demanding that the girl be wiped out for her clumsy offense. I want you to feel the sudden shift in the room's atmospheric pressure. The cartel thug expects the Kthroni warlord to snap out of his stupor and join in the cruelty. But the creature that stands up from that table is no longer Drathic Sarowan, Supreme Commander of the Kthroni Empire. The man who rises to his full, terrifying height is a fully activated, unyielding guardian of the hidden remnant. He moves with a fluid speed that defies his massive armored bulk. There is no imperial mandate in his actions now, no cold, mechanical execution of orders. There is only the fierce, overwhelming instinct to protect his true kin. He steps deliberately between Ilara and the Overseer, absorbing the blinding, searing heat of a fired plasma round directly into his obsidian chestplate. He doesn't even flinch. The cartel overseer's arrogant smirk evaporates into absolute, paralyzing terror as Drathic steps forward, gripping the man's weapon and crushing it into a useless lump of melted slag with one bare hand. I look into Drathic's amber eyes, and the dead, vacant stare of the apex predator is completely gone. In its place is a roaring, magnificent inferno of righteous purpose. He does not slaughter the Overseer, which is the most terrifying revelation of all for the breathless onlookers. He simply casts the trembling thug aside like a broken toy. The Kthroni doctrine of solitary dominance is permanently dead. In its place, a new ancient law has been resurrected. We do not stand alone, and we do not let our true family perish in the dark. The patrons of the Gilded Nebula shrink back into their velvet booths, their illusions of superiority completely shattered by the raw, uncontainable power of a soul that is finally broken free from its cage. In the heavy, suffocating silence that followed the shattering of his former life, the terrifying warlord ceased to exist, leaving only a resurrected spirit in his wake. Drathic turns his massive back on the cartel barons and the shivering diplomats, dismissing their entire world of synthetic luxury and hollow power as entirely irrelevant. He reaches up to his collar, his thick fingers grasping the heavy, metallic insignia of the Kthroni Empire, the symbol of his enslavement, the badge of his endless, bloody isolation. With a sickening metallic tear, he violently rips it from his armor. The heavy metal clatters onto the polished floor, the sound echoing like a death knell for his past. He looks down at Ilara, extending a hand that was designed only to destroy, now offering the only true salvation either of them has ever known. She takes it, her small, frail fingers wrapping around his thick, scaled digits, and together they walk out of the Gilded Nebula. They leave the opulent cathedral of excess behind, stepping out into the cold, neon-lit corridors of Palon Station, but they are no longer drifting. I watch them disappear into the crowds heading toward the deep space docking bays, their shared frequency pulsating like a beacon in the void. They have nothing now. No empire, no wealth, no destination. But for the very first time in their lives, they are not starving. They have found the first thread of their true, eternal bloodline. And so, I turn to you, listening to my voice in the quiet dark. Are you still comfortable in your carefully constructed cage? Or are you finally ready to tear the insignia of your own earthly conditioning from your chest? The hidden remnant is out there, navigating the freezing abyss, desperately waiting for you to wake up and remember who you really are. Listen to the quietest, most guarded spaces of your heart. Find your resonance. Shatter the illusion. Your true family is waiting for you in the stars, and it is finally time to go home. The journey of Drathic and Ilara serves as a breathtaking testament to the indestructible nature of the soul when confronted with the truth of its own existence. In a universe governed by cruelty, synthetic luxury, and brutal conditioning, it took only a single, fragile moment of genuine connection to shatter 40 years of imperial programming. Drathic, a feared Kthroni warlord, did not find his salvation in conquest or power, but in the innocent, familiar resonance of a supposedly disposable station server. Their encounter was not merely a physical collision, it was a cosmic reunion of the hidden remnant, proving that no armor is thick enough to suppress the divine harmonic of unconditional love and true kinship. By choosing to protect Ilara and discarding the physical symbol of his lifelong enslavement, Drathic entirely rejected the fabricated reality of his empire. He transformed from a numb apex predator into a righteous guardian, choosing a path of profound uncertainty over a life of hollow dominance. Their exodus from the Gilded Nebula represents the ultimate liberation, stripping away the earthly and societal expectations that bind us to discover a deeper, spiritual bloodline. It reminds us that our true strength does not lie in the formidable walls we build to protect ourselves, but in our absolute courage to let those walls crumble when we finally hear the call of our authentic selves. The deepest realization hidden within this story is that the armor we construct to survive our harsh realities often becomes the very cage that imprisons our soul.
We are frequently conditioned by society to value status, power, and emotional detachment, adopting a synthetic persona just to get through the day. Yet, true liberation comes from vulnerability and the courage to recognize our shared humanity. Genuine connection holds the power to completely override years of ingrained trauma and societal programming. To apply this today, take a hard look at the obsidian armor you wear in your own life. Are you operating on autopilot, conforming to expectations that do not serve your true self? Start by practicing radical empathy. Look past the titles, wealth, or outward appearances of the people you interact with daily and try to see the human being underneath. Allow yourself to be vulnerable in your relationships. When someone makes a mistake, respond with grace instead of judgment. Strip away the superficial labels you use to define your worth and invest your energy into finding your true community, those who resonate with your core values and love you for who you authentically are, not for what you can produce. If you could break free from just one societal expectation or daily pressure today,
what would it be? Please take a moment to politely share your thoughts in the comments below so we can all learn from and inspire one another. If this story resonated with you, please hit that subscribe button. Your support truly gives us the motivation to keep creating more deep, inspiring content for you next.